Hey everybody, Laura Fangman here with today's Mash the Button Community Connection Edition. And I said it right on the first try. You have no idea how many takes it takes me to say that when I make these pre-recorded videos. So I am doing our Mash the Button live this time. I am hoping that this works out and that I will have a guest to bring on. We will see how that goes. I've not done this before, so this could be a giant flop and you guys can all watch me flop. That, you know, we'll see what happens. See what happens. But hopefully in a few minutes, I wonder if I should scroll this a different way. Oh, swipe left. That's what I needed to do. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna hang out for a few minutes and probably talk to myself while doing so, waiting to see what happens. Normally I can fill plenty of dead space talking to myself, so we will see how long I can keep it up. I got my office back. Not that any of you knew I didn't have it, but we did a little remodel project, and I didn't have an office for quite some time because my office had to hold all the things from the remodel project. That was not cool. So finally I have an office back so I can sit here and not do things from the kitchen, which is what I have been doing for a while. So, hanging out, just kind of waiting to see what sort of mash the buttony things we can come up with. Crossing my fingers that this works out. Wondering if I should check email, because it's possible that I've missed a message, so bear with me while I do that. I'm gonna just check in here. I should probably check Twitter. Oh, looky here. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this. I've sent an invite and it's adding. We'll see what happens. Oh, I hear sound. Oh my gosh. Hi, how are you?
Who would have thunk?
Right?
It works.
Years later?
I know, right? All this confounded technology, and we finally got this to work.
This is amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
You are very welcome.
So everyone, this is my friend Travis Koshko. See, I said the name of the show right, and then I screwed up your name.
It's kind of like Oshkosh Bagosh. Think, kids' clothing.
Right.
Same general premise.
Same. Absolutely. All right. So this is Mash the Button Community Connection Edition, and what I have been doing over the course of time is bringing people in from our area, from our community, and talking about the different things. I'm going to get seasick with you over there.
I'm not going to move. Don't worry.
So I've been talking to people in the community. Last month we talked to some people at Patty's Steakhouse that did a fantastic fundraiser to raise money for pediatric cancer research. And the month before that, we were at a neighborhood coffee shop that had just opened up. And today, ladies and gentlemen, because knowing the people in your neighborhood, shout out to Mr. Rogers, he was 90 this week, or would have been 90 this week. So in the spirit of getting to know the people in your neighborhood, I give you a meteorologist.
Everyone's favorite guy right about now.
You're doing what?
Everyone's favorite guy right about now.
Yes. So we will get to that, but before we jump into the thick of things, do you want to tell everybody a little about yourself?
Sure. My name is Travis Koshko. I'm the Chief Meteorologist here at CBS 19 in Charlottesville, Virginia. And through the magic of Twitter, that's how I got to know that fine woman who sells stuff on the left side of the screen. We have forged quite a great friendship in the last several years, and very appreciative of that. I've been here in Charlottesville for about 10 years, and I've got a great staff under me, and longing for warmer weather.
As are we all.
And I slice and dice and chop and dice and do all my own stunt work too. And I also do weddings, birthdays, and bar mitzvahs.
Excellent. Don't forget to tip your waitress.
Exactly. I'll be here all week, and please try the fish. The list just goes on and on and on and on.
See, folks, it's not just when his cameras are live. It's any camera that brings this out in him. I would say, I think it's worth noting that every now and then it comes up that social media and the internet is kind of destroying the world. And I think that it's worth pointing out that it's all in what you do with it and what you make of it, because truly I did meet Travis on Twitter and over the course of time figured out that he wasn't, creepy axe murderer. But we've got a fantastic friendship now, and I invited myself, but he allowed it to happen for us to come and tour the studio there in Charlottesville, and we got to see how the weather report happens and that kind of thing. So just, you know, a shout out to all those internet friends that you have out there. Next, I was going to say something, and I've completely lost my train of thought, which happens. I know it doesn't happen to you, but it happens to me all the time. What I think I was going to point out was that not all of this ever has to relate to real estate, but I think it's really important to point out that when people move to a new area, often their realtor is the only human that they know in person, and they get to know the community through things like local news broadcasts. You're a member of the community that they see regularly every day, and often I think the meteorologist is someone who seems the most approachable maybe on a news team, because everybody else is telling you all those things that went wrong, and you get to be the guy to bring the good news that the sun's coming up tomorrow. Would you say that's fair?
I think it's very true, and a lot of times it seems more happen than not that situation tends to be the case, especially when you have a run of stories in the first part of your newscast where, you know, people lose their lives or their accidents or other negative, for lack of a better term, things happen. And they basically toss to weather and, you know, try and be the uplifting spirits, or at least shift gears and try and put a happier spin on things. And sometimes it's harder than other days, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but it's part of the job, you know. I mean, my job is to tell the weather. Sometimes even that's bad, sometimes it's good. I mean, my primary job here is to save lives and property, and the weather isn't always the best.
Right. So speaking of which, I won't hold everyone in suspense any longer. I'm going to ask the question that's been on everyone's minds that makes this conversation so timely and relevant. Travis, what the hell?
Yeah, oddly enough, we ended up with about 4.5 inches of snow in Charlottesville the last couple of days. That's more snow in the first 2 days of spring than we had in Charlottesville the actual 3 months of winter.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're just thrilled about that, and I'm sure a lot of people are. I know a lot of skiers were itching to get out, so at least they were happy. March is a fickle month. Anything happens this time of year. I mean, we've had big snowstorms in the past. I remember one that was notable in shaping my interest in the weather was the blizzard of '93, which happened from March 13th through 16th back in 1993. This is the time of year where we make the transition from the Arctic cold into the warmer months of spring. And of course, when you've got hot and cold and moisture thrown in, it's a recipe for pretty much anything goes. And we have had anything this time of year.
So is there truth to somebody was talking the other day about there's a spring equinox storm or some sort of storm that like almost always happens right about the first day of spring. Is that a thing?
Not that I've ever really noticed. I just think this is the nature of the beast. March and April especially tend to be a very volatile month. And also as you go into the months of around fall, say September, October, when we're making the transition from the opposite, from warm to cold, I mean, you've got everything in place. I like to tell people that when you have very cold air and very warm air, the bigger the extreme between the two, the more bang for your buck in the atmosphere you get. So you tend to get your bigger storms. And right now, I think what has a lot to do with it, the pattern we are in, which is called a La Nina pattern, it tends to promote cooler waters in the Western Pacific. It actually trickles down to what happens further east of it. Well, this is a pattern that has kept big snowstorms out of our area, but now is shifting as such. And as we get occasional bursts of cold air, you line it up with the moisture, and it tends to give us snow even this late in the season. But for much of the winter, I mean, Birmingham, Alabama, up till the first day of spring, Birmingham, Alabama had more snow. Baton Rouge, Louisiana had more snow than Charlottesville, Virginia.
My friend Christina's in Baton Rouge, and yeah, it was bananas to watch her pictures at her front door, and we had nothing.
And I was there in early December when they had the snow, and you could tell who was originally from the colder climates and who was a native of Louisiana, because everyone who was from the area was pressed against the glass looking outside at the snow. And of course, people like me who are from the colder climates who are used to it, you know, being a Pennsylvania native, is like, yeah, whatever, woo.
I guess the fun there would just be watching the other people watching.
Oh, people watching was fantastic. It was fabulous, not going to lie. And walking down Bourbon Street, you know, with snowflakes flying is something that I'll never forget. It wasn't even extreme in terms of deadly weather. It was just something, I mean, you don't align snow and Bourbon Street together. It just doesn't happen very often.
No, that's not a thing. So can you give us hope? Can you offer anything that might make us think that one day it won't be this stinking cold anymore?
Well, I think that this pattern is going to last a little bit longer. Now, we will get a little warmer at times, but I do see cooler times coming for April, and this is the type of thing that we expect when we have this kind of a pattern. Probably won't be until May when we actually get legitimate spring, but then by that point, we already evolve into the warmer months of summer. So there might not be much spring at all. We just might make a jump from unseasonably cool conditions into warmer conditions around Memorial Day. But I'm working my, my Wizard of Oz curtain. I have my levers and my buttons that I push on my dials. I'm doing the best I can right now. Okay.
I can't even pretend to hide my disappointment. I was really hoping you were going to have some sort of magical thing to share with us.
Well, actually, I kind of do. If I can take you along for a ride a minute, I have a whole bit of goodies here. And if I pull out the secret weapon here of meteorology, I do happen to have the magical weather rock.
Ooh!
Okay. Yes. And here's how it works. When this rock is wet, it means it's raining. When it's white, it means it's snowing. When it's swinging around, it's windy. When it's cold, it's wintertime. When it's warm, it's summertime. And if I hold it out in front of me and I can't see it, it means it's foggy.
Oh my God.
State-of-the-art technology, I tell you.
And this will probably somehow, this clip is going to get pulled and go around the internet virally for years, that this is how the weather is predicted.
Probably.
Would you, speaking of predictions.
Hey, I have a dartboard over there too if you really want me to up the ante.
We're good. I think things are bad enough. Let's not.
Okay.
I think it might be worth pointing out to people in case anyone doesn't already know or is interested. You and I had this conversation at one point in time, but in the same way that I think it's important that people understand that as a realtor, what I do is, or being a realtor is slightly different than being a real estate agent, that there's kind of a different bar there. It's the same for you with the weather and being a meteorologist. Not everyone understands the difference between someone who gets up and tells you the forecast and someone who's an actual meteorologist. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. There's a lot of science background in meteorology, obviously. One of the things that I have as part of my meteorology degree is a lot of mathematics background. In fact, a lot of the true science in meteorology is based on mathematics. More specifically, it's calculus. Calculus is a souped up form of 1 + 1 that basically describes where things are at a certain time, how they move, and what happens as they move and how fast they move. Well, in essence, in describing the weather, you're talking about air masses, how they move, where they go, what happens when they go up, what happens when they go down, subject to different pressures and forces and whatnot. And all that can, in short, be described through calculus. It was kind of a running joke because when I started at Penn State many moons ago, believe it or not, I was one of 225 people before freshman year. We were all sat down in a little seminar, and they told us, by the time you graduate in 4 years, only about a fourth of you will be here because most of you won't like the math and calculus involved. I ended up having 4 semesters of calculus, and that got rid of pretty much everyone. And by the time I graduated, I was one of 41 people left in that original group of 225. So if you do the math roughly, that's 20% of the people that actually went on to graduate from that giant room of people that day. And the math has a lot to do with it. But that in turn is interesting because you can like science, be okay at math, and be a good meteorologist, or you can not like science, be an excellent mathematician, but also be a great meteorologist because of the level of mathematics involved in the field.
Got it. Got it. So
the more you know.
Yeah, no kidding, right? A little rainbow crosses the screen.
Oh, this way.
Yeah. Just wanted, for the people out there who maybe can't take a joke and thought that the rock really was how you did this, just, we're going to clear that up a little.
Yeah.
So before I go groundhog hunting, because that's really the next thing on my list of things to do, do you want to tell people maybe how they can find you or follow you in the same way that I did?
Sure. Best way to follow me is on Twitter. I'm very active. Especially when the weather itself is active. You can follow me, twitter.com/ Travis Koshko. That would be TraviskoShko. Also, we have a Facebook page at the station. That's facebook.com/CBS19weather. And those are probably the two best avenues, but by far, social media is key. It's one thing we're very active in. Plus, our actual webpage is Newsplex, NEWSPLEX.com. You'll find, too, that we're a family of stations, but CBS is our primary one right now. And we have our weather information and bios and stuff on there for your viewing pleasure.
That is awesome. And I don't live in Charlottesville, Virginia, but I do kind of pay attention because even outside of the area, lots of times there's explanations and I kind of see what's coming or going or whatever. So even if you don't live in Charlottesville, it's definitely worth a follow. And we hadn't mentioned, but for what it's worth, Travis has a fantastic alter ego that goes around the country doing some really interesting stuff. You want to tell them? This is the most interesting part of this whole thing outside of the weather rock.
Basically, the fact that I throw myself in a car for X number of days and just drive around and see Americana. Hopefully, that's what you were talking about.
And you eat?
Oh yeah, this thing called barbecue. Yeah, I throw myself in a car, take aimless road trips or aim full road trips, and usually they involve barbecue. I happen to be a Kansas City Barbecue Society certified barbecue judge. That means that, yes, I actually took a course in learning how to judge barbecue. I'm actually going down to a beautiful place called Urbana, Virginia this Saturday, which happens to be very close, just outside of Williamsburg, maybe closer to Gloucester on the northern side of the river, judging a barbecue competition there. Usually do about 5, 6, 7 competitions a year, but it's great because barbecue is one of those things. It doesn't matter who you are, what your interests are, what your background is, as long as you like barbecue, that's all that matters. And I like barbecue, and that's all that counts.
The great uniter of people will be barbecue and Twitter.
We'll drive for food, yes.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I know that you have a broadcast coming up that you're going to have to get prepared for. But I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me today and giving all of those explanations to all these fine people. And, you didn't give us any hope, but at least we know now so we can end the suspense.
Well, I will have a newscast coming up at noontime, so we'll have the exclusive 7-day forecast at that time. And yes, we do stream all of our newscasts live at newsplex.com. That's what we call in the news business a tease, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So anybody who's watching right now, today is what, March 23rd?
Yes.
So if you're watching this later and it's not March 23rd, you're not going to get a live stream. But you can probably still find out what the weather was by going to their teaser website at newsplex.com.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. Job well done.
Awesome. All right. Very good. Well, then I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much again for being here. And,
thank you for having me.
Guys, if you're in the area or have access to the internet, make sure you check Travis out in Charlottesville or follow him on Twitter. Till next time, take care.